We're now on Daf Lamed Hey Amid Beis. And we got up to Ein Hachinami, which is, I would say, about 2/3 down the page. Even more, maybe.
What page is it?
Lamed Hey Amid Beis, 35b.
I don't know where I...
Okay, then, in the 4th chapter. This is
weren't we in the 12th chapter?
Right, but we made a decision. I mean, it was a unanimous vote because I cast the vote.
Okay.
That we should do the fourth paragraph.
So you went back to the 4th paragraph.
Right, back to the 4th paragraph. So again, the earliest year is in the 3rd, and the latest year is in the 4th.
Okay,
They're two contiguous programs. That's why there's so much overlap.
Right. Okay. I just got to find it because I'm in the so 4th chapter. Okay.
So it's Lamed Hey Amid Beis, and we're up to Ein Hachinami. I'll give an introduction, but I just want you to see if you can put your finger on the place. We'll count up from the bottom of the Amud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
What is it? What is it in English? 30 what?
35b.
35b. Okay. And you're 35 pages up from the bottom?
We're going to count lines from the bottom. We're going to count 10 lines up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the first word in the line is Yikayin.
Right.
And if you move towards your left, you'll see Rashi Tevis Ein Hachinami.
Okay.
And he says, Ivy the Tana Resha Yotzi, Tana Nami Sefer Yikayin. So what does this mean? And just to give you a little bit of the background. This Gemara that we're reading is a commentary on Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan says the following, that if a man is miyabem his yevama, and it turns out that she was pregnant. Now, you and I would say, well, if it turns out that she was pregnant, then no deal. The deal is off because the Torah says Zera Ein Lo. That Yibum is based on the fact that, unfortunately, your brother died without any children. Here he left the Zera. However, after the Yibum, they waited a few months for her to give birth, and lo and behold, she gave birth to a Nephil, which I guess you'd call like a stillborn. She miscarried, basically. That's the bottom line. She did not give birth to a living being, a living person. So Rabbi Yochanan says, in such a case, the law is that he has two choices. Either he remains married with her, or he gives her a get, gives her a divorce. Why? Because Rabbi Yochanan says that the yibum that he implemented is valid, even though she was pregnant, but now we found out that tragically she did not carry till full term, so there was no viable being. And that's Zera Ein Lo. There's a Zikas Yibum, and his Yibum was a full-fledged implementation of Yibum, so she's now married to him. He has two choices. Either he remains married to her, Mazel Tov, or he gives her a get. Those are the only two choices that he has. Of course, the language Yikayim is a little bit problematic because, yeah.
The whole idea of Yibum is that the first brother had no issue. So I know she's pregnant, but she miscarries or whatever, right?
Aborted,
so
yeah, whatever the word is.
So technically he still has no progeny. So isn't there an obligation on the part of the second brother to remain in the marriage as opposed to divorce her?
So that's an interesting question in and of itself. There is an indication in a different sugya in Yevamos that the mitzvah of Yibum is fulfilled the very first time he consummates the act of intimacy. After that, he has the carte blanche to decide to divorce. We don't hold it against it. But the main point here in Rabbi Yochanan is that the Yibum, that intimacy, was valid, a full-fledged Yibum, even though she was pregnant. But the answer is because she aborted the baby. The baby never thrived, never lived, not even for 1 second. The language Yikayim is a little bit problematic because the word Yikayim sounds like he's obligated to maintain that marriage relationship, which he really isn't. Even though, like you said before, intuitively you might think he's obligated to remain in that marriage, but he's not obligated. He fulfilled his due mitzvah by being miyavin. But the reason why he used the word Yikayim is because the opposite of Yikayim is Yotzi. Yotzi means deliver a get. What does that mean, deliver a get? That's the case of the Reisha. The Reisha is the case where he implemented Yibum. Turns out she was pregnant, and she carried full to term, and she gave birth to a viable baby, which is the baby of her deceased husband, the Yavam's late brother. And here the halach is Yotzi. He's not allowed to remain in that marriage because she is now Eishes Ach Shalom b'makom mitzvah. Right? There's no Yibum here because there's a Zerah, there's a child. And he already violated on one occasion the Itzer Erva of Eishes Ach. We're not going to allow him to violate it again and again, multiple times. He's got to deliver. So what does it mean, Yotzi? I think the word Yotzi, let's just see what the word Yotzi means. Just 1 second. Just give me a minute to clear my brain on this one point here. What does Yotzi mean? I think the word Yotzi, I don't want to stake my whole reputation on this, but I think the word Yotzi means let her go, meaning dissolve the relationship. It doesn't mean give her a get because she doesn't fall for Yibum at all, and therefore she's an Eishes Ach. His beer with her cannot generate Ishus because she's an Erva. Meisvei. Now we're up to Meisvei, which is the last word on that same line, 10 lines up before the bottom of the Yom. Now the Gemara is going to raise an objection against Rabbi Yochanan from another brisa. Hakone says Yevimto, the Acharkach Nimtzeis Muberes, right? So he had beer with her, and then he finds out that she's pregnant. Harezu lo tinase tzarasa. Shemi Yehi Vlad ben Kayom. So there's something very strange going on here in this brisa. A man consummated Yibum, right? And then lo and behold, it turns out she's pregnant and she delivered a baby, a viable baby. So now, what does it mean, lo tinase tzaras? If his late brother was married to a second wife, she can't get married. Why can't she get married? She doesn't need chalitza. There's no yibum because he left Zerah, offspring. So the Gemara immediately raises this objection. Adara, on the contrary, ki havi avlad ben kayoma, since the child is a full, healthy child, is miftarat saras. There's no yibum here, and if he was married to two wives, neither of them need yibum or chalitza. So what does it say here? Lo tinase tzaras. She can't get married. Why not? Ela ema shema lo yehe avlad ben kayom. What we're worried about is not that the child will be viable, but that he will be a nefa. He's not a bar kayom. He's not able to thrive, to live. Which means that the deceased died without leaving any zera, and therefore his Sarah needs yibum. Why does she need yibum? The Yavam, the live brother, implemented yibum with the other tzara, right? Not the tzara. And once there was yibum with one of the wives of the deceased, there's no need for yibum or chalitza with the tzara, with the other wife of the deceased. Isal kedaikach bias b'beret shma bia, amai lo tinas itzarasa. Ipote v'bia shel chaverta. Just 1 second. I'm not sure what is the Gemara bothered by here. Why is this an objection to Rabbi Yochanan? He said, Shema lo yeh avlad ben kayom. Isa kedai bias muber shma bia milo tinosik sarasa tibatu biasa shel haverta. Oh, now I see it. According to Rabbi Yochanan, there is yibum with a muberes. If at the end of the line, after 9 months, the baby never doesn't survive the birth. So why are you telling me that lo tinase tzarasa? He implemented bia, right? Yet let's say Reuven dies and leaves Rachel and Leah. They're not married. They're not sisters. So let's leave that. Right? 2 wives. Now Shimon is miyabim one of them. The other one doesn't need yibum or chalitza. So why does this brisa tell us lo tinase tzarasa? Why lo tinase tzarasa? The Yavam was makayim the mitzvah yibum with the Yavama, and her tzara doesn't need any chalitza. Amar Abaye v'bia kuliyama lo pligi de lo patra. Even Rabbi Yochanan would admit, he would confess that in the case of a muberes, bia is not a valid bia, and therefore doesn't have the impact of being mativ tzara. Ipligi b'chalitza. The whole machlokes here between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish is only about chalitza. Rabbi Yochanan savar chalitzas meuberes shma chalitza, bias meuberes lo shma bia. Reish Lakish savar bias meuberes lo shma bia, v'chalitzas meuberes lo shma bia, lo shma chalitza. So the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish now, according to Abaye, revolves around chalitza. As far as bia is concerned, even Rabbi Yochanan agrees that bia is muberes lo shma bia. But herein lies the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish regard to chalitzas muberes. Rabbi Yochanan recognizes chalitzas muberes, and Reish Lakish does not. But as far as bias muberes is concerned, everybody agrees that ain't shma bia. Very difficult to understand the logic here. Amalei Rava says Tabai Mimonavsha. Ibias muberes shmei bia, chalitz muberes shmei bia. Ibias muberes lo shmei bia. It is chalitz muberes nami lo shmei chalitz. There's an inherent contradiction here in the logic of Abaye. How can you differentiate between bia and chalitza? So it's all depend upon the same issue. But the Gemara says, "Da kaimelon, amidvavam anal da kaimelon kol ha'ola liyibum ola lechalitza kol she'ena ola liyibum ena ola lechalitza." A way that you could differentiate between chalitza and yibum. It's a package deal. If there's yibum, then there's chalitza. If there's no yibum, then there's no need for chalitza. She can get married to anyone she wants without chalitza. So therefore, we come back to our original question on Rabbi Yochanan. What is the basis for this distinction between bias muberes and chalitzas muberes? You're telling me that in the case of bias muberes, he's going to need a new yibum. But in the case of chalitzas muberes, shma chalitza. Hello, my Rava says the following. Hachi kamer, this is what Rabbi Yochanan has in mind. Hakones yevimto, v'nimtzeis muberes. Arezu lo tinase tzarasa. Vlad ben Kayama, and if the Vlad is a ben Kayama, it's a viable being, then bias muberes lo shma bia, v'chalitzas muberes lo shma chalitza. So why can't the tzara get married? I mean, she doesn't need yibum. Her husband, her late husband, left a child. Avlad eno poter ad sheyetze li avir ha'olam. Wow, I'm telling you, this is radical. What we're saying is that the tzara is in a sit and wait position. What's it called? The hold position? she can't get married until the baby, right? The baby of the other tzara is born, is Yotza Li'aver Olam. He comes out and breathes the air of the world. As long as it's just a fetus, an embryo in its mother's womb, it is not considered zera. It's not considered that her husband had banim, had children. So she can't get married. Now, even if at the end of the day, right, the other tzara gave birth to a viable being, Kol's man, lo yotze li'avra olam, nechshav she'ein lebayla bonim. Yasur l'shuk. So it's really fascinating. I mean, she doesn't need yibum; she can marry anyone, but we're not going to allow her to get married until the baby is born. So this is, I think, the shita of Reish Lakish. Hello, Marav, let's read it again. Hachikam. Kones yivim tovin intzeis muberes hazesu tenasi tzorasa shemi evlad ben kayoma. Ubias muberes loshma bia. Chalitzas muberes loshma chalitza. You have any footnotes on that by any chance?
Yeah, it says the Baraisa states that even if Yibum is performed to a pregnant Yavana, her co-wife is not free to marry until the child is born because we are concerned that the unborn child is viable, in which case the widows are not free to marry until he is born. By implication, then, the Baraisa is also saying that if the unborn child is not viable, then the co-wife would be free to marry by virtue of the Yibum performed to the pregnant Yavana, as Rav Yochanan rules. As Rav explains, the Baraisa then is in fact supports Rav Yochanan's position. Then it says the Gemara will address this point again.
Okay, look, I think we should stop here. It's getting late. And I think we'll start again with Elam Rava tomorrow, and we'll come back and re-examine it. You know, with sometimes when you start with a fresh start, you know, it's a lot easier.
Right. It seems to be saying that either way they got to wait. So the co-wife has to wait.
Correct. Because we don't know what the outcome is going to be. So we have to wait until the baby is actually born. You know, we're not going to rely on what do they call it? Ultrasounds, you know.
Which they didn't have in those days. That's interesting.
Right. Okay. Not even on Elio and Navu. Okay, have a great day then. Feel well.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay,
You're well.